Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield. Josh is in Pocatello, Idaho. I am in Helsinki, Finland. I have arrived here in the Nordic Europe to get ready for the start of the European swing. Macbeth's been doing it for a few weeks now, but everybody else is here now as we get ready for the PCS Open in Norway this weekend and then the European Open next week. I've been waiting all season for this, Josh. This time of year is so great. PCS Sula last year was super fun. Remember Greg Barsby, hoisting the axe. We got Barsby in the press conference today. What if he does it again? He might. You never know. It seems like he's good for one every year. But Josh, I'm here. Do you have any questions about Helsinki? I'll do my best.
You just got in Helsinki today, right?
I arrived like maybe 5 hours ago.
Okay. So how about this then? What's been the highlight of your European trip thus far? I'll ask you about Helsinki next week.
I enjoyed some nice time in London between the U24 championships up in the Nottingham, England. So just like really nice to be. London's architecture is spectacular. New York is nice, but it's not London. Like every building in London is amazing. And had some good food and already got a sauna in here in Finland.
Are you gonna be broadcasting from the sauna?
I wish I could. That'd be awesome.
VIP
like
cast
heavy
booth.
Breathing, just like. But it's beautiful here. It's 9 o'clock and it's still bright daylight, as you can see.
That's wild. That is weird.
So let's get rolling. We're just doing one show again this week, folks. Sorry, with the time zones and everything that's been going on, it's just too crazy. But we're going to make it up. Subscribers, we're going to do some extra bonuses next week as we rock and roll for European Open. It's a major. We're going to be back doing daily recaps. If I can cajole Josh into doing it in the time zones work, but I'll be doing them no matter what. And we've got a little bonus for you today as well as we talk about some of the dark horse Europeans to keep an eye on over the next 2 weeks. So let's start with Europe. Okay, we've been talking about all these Elite Series events. There was no Elite Series event this weekend, just a silver back in the States. And we had the Skellefteå Open over in Europe. Macbeth was there, as you know. It was in Sweden. And Macbeth does end up getting the win. He beats out Lauri Lehtinen in what was contested, but never quite rose to the level of being a tight race down the stretch. It was close, but it never really got there, So Macbeth wins by 2 strokes over Lehtinen. And on the FPO side, a nice story, and a name to keep an eye on. Silva Saarinen gets another win. She beats out Rachel Turton and Ella Hansen. How about that? So a nice win for Saarinen, who's been doing some winning over in Europe. Has won a couple events in a row now. So Josh, Macbeth on the winning track again, but I got to be honest, having watched him play, the putting looks good, but it's hard for me to see Macbeth winning any of these tournaments coming up the way that he's throwing it off the tee.
Yeah. Lowry missed 4 putts low from the whole 12 on. I was able to tune in at the last stretch of that tournament and watched the last probably close to back 9. And Lowry missed 4 in a row, or four in that stretch where he hit dead center, but just cage. And it was just too low and didn't have enough. Probably a product of nerves. But there were multiple times when Macbeth should have been able to put the tournament away and didn't. Now, to his credit, hole 15 had a brutal spit out. Went straight through the chains, misses high left, and it goes through the chains and comes out the back, keeps Lowry in it. Then you get to hole 16. Lowry hits the last tree that he needs to beat on the corner to approach the green, gives him an easy birdie look if he doesn't hit that tree. Unfortunately catches it. Paul McBeth is able to scramble after he throws a turnover shot that was inside the line he needed by 20 feet or more. It just was a very unconvincing performance from Paul McBeth. And you're right, he did get the win, but every time it just felt like, oh, Lowry's got a chance here. And he didn't walk through the door. But what happens when you've got Ricky and Calvin and Gannon and Eagle and Nicholas and, Jakub Semerad and that list of people who's going to be ready to walk through the door could be 10 times as long as it was here this weekend.
No Gannon in Europe, by the way.
That's right.
Everybody
No Gannon in Europe.
Keep your picks noted. And Lehtinen, we were talking earlier this year about like, where the hell is Lowry Lehtinen? And then we've like found out, somebody emailed us and we're like, well, he's doing military service and he's been hurt and da-da-da. I mean, he looks pretty damn good. The putting has been it's a little shaky, and he gave himself a lot of long looks. He was missing those putts low, but Josh, they were from like 35, 40 feet.
They were circle two putts.
It was like a lot of like never giving himself the bunnies. And that made it hard. Although I think he still could have won. Somebody said on YouTube, I don't know, maybe I was watching the MDG media coverage, which has been excellent, by the way. And someone was like, I just watched Paul McBeth make more mistakes this weekend than I used to see him make in a year. And I mean, that's obviously a little bit hyperbolic, but it's not that far off. I mean, you're watching McBeth like hit first available and like make uncharacteristic mistakes. Now he's such a good player that he's still able to overcome that and put together a solid enough round to win. 5 down. That's not special. It's fine, but Lehtinen shot a 7 in round 2. McBeth shot a 7 in round 1, and there were more strokes to be had out there. Absolutely love the course. Love the course. It's beautiful. And McBeth won a major there back in 2015.
It was incredible to watch. I tuned in, and I was like, man, this is where I need to be. This is the kind of tournament that I enjoy watching. And the property was gorgeous. I thought so many of the holes were very nice. They thought they were well done. I liked the course as a competitive course as well. It was a pleasure to watch, and I wish I had watched more of it that weekend. Time zone things mean that I didn't go out of my way to, and I should have, because it was an excellent watch for that back nine. I want to highlight something else that you talk about with the Paul McBeth mistakes. The other part about it, I mean, he shoots a 1039 rated final round. That's not going to get it done at the European Open. And some of the mistakes that he made weren't even, I have 2 strokes, I can play kind of comfortably and just know that I play with my lead. Hole 14, he goes to approach, he's tucked in a little bit, but goes to approach the island green and ends up cut rolling out and pulling himself further back, making his upshot a significantly more difficult shot and taking himself out of a long circle 2 look for the birdie. It just is so uncharacteristic mistakes as well that feel like unforced errors, not from an overwhelming pressure of someone with momentum, not a conservative playing golf shots. Like it just feels like unforced errors are coming out of Paul McBeth, at least this past weekend, and he needs to clean those up because this is not going to be indicative of enough to win European Open.
I mean, the good news is we've seen the ebbs and flows of his drive being good, his putt being bad, and then the other way. And the guy he seems to put it together when it matters the most. I got to be honest. So I'm certainly not going to count him out, not with the way that he played last year, the way that he's played at the Beast historically. And he's got time to work through it. I don't think I'm picking him for PCS, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to pick him to win at Euros. So we'll see. How about Silva Saarinen, Josh? Outdueling Ella Hansen. Okay, let's just talk about this really quick. Holland Handley and Ella Hansen were both clearly the favorites to win silver events this weekend, and neither of them won. I don't know what to tell you about that, but they're still not getting it done when it actually matters, and they got to actually get the W, Josh.
They can't golf. They've got to learn to golf, and they have such an immensely talented skill set. And you know what's funny? I didn't even realize that Ella was in this tournament at first. and then I went and checked partway through and realized, oh, Ella is playing this weekend. And still, Silva comes out. She is Statmando had some stats on her and was putting some stats up through the weekend and some really cool ones. So first off, she has gotten her third PDGA Euro Tour win in a row. She's the first woman to win 3 Euro Tours in a row in FPO since Kristen Tatar did it in 2019. That's good company to keep. After round 1 of the Skellefteå Open, I don't know if she was still in the lead after round 2, so I'd have to go back and check that. But through round 1 at least, she had played 7 straight Euro Tour FPO rounds that were and she, at the end of those rounds, she led all of them. So 7 for 7, she played a round, she led, and that's just how well she's been playing, and it's been a remarkable series of golf from her. I don't know. Look, beating Rachel Turton and Ella Hansen is great, right? That is a good accomplishment that she should take some pride in. I don't know though, when you have the FPO field as limited as it is going to be at the European Open, if Silva, I don't know how much of a contender she is. It's really hard to evaluate what her level and her ceiling can be at the European Open this weekend. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think she's got a chance, but it's a limited one. I mean, I don't think that's anything crazy to say. I'm not familiar enough with her specific game to feel like I can pinpoint how well she's going to play at the Beast. I don't think she's in the field for the PCS.
She's not. I went and looked.
So we won't see her this weekend. But I'm sure she's playing at European Open. But I'm not going to count her out. Ella Hansen did tweet it's a Twitter meme. Me and DGPT Silver events shaking hands, and they're agreeing on playing like poop emoji. So Ella doesn't play well at the Silvers across the board. But you know what? At least you're in Europe, right?
Right.
How about, not to steal the shine away from a very exciting winner this weekend, Allie Smith wins the FPO field at the Kansas City Wide Open, beats out Holland Handley, Hannah Wynn, Lisa Fakis, Vanessa Van Dyken, Deanne Carey, a lot of very talented pros. Local, plays the course every week, and went out there and got it done, hanging on in the final round. Such an awesome story. This, to me, is what the Silvers are all about. I don't want all the top players at the Silvers. It's not fun. I don't care. Okay. Kristen Tatar wins a silver. So what? I'm bored. Allie Smith wins a silver. I'm hyped. Okay. So shout out to Allie Smith. Super awesome. Gave up a career to go after disc golf. Gets this W and is now going to have name in the spotlight for a couple of weeks.
And it does so. I mean, Lisa Fakis just falls apart in hole 17 and 18 in the lead. And I'll be honest, I'm thinking, yeah, Lisa should be able to walk this in, right? She's got a stroke on Allie Smith going into hole 17. And there's kind of been a par stretch from Allie and Lisa both. And you just think about the experience. And we've seen Lisa Fakis up on podium positions at Worlds going into final stretches. And just a brutal final couple holes pulls her clear out of contention and leaves the door wide open for Allie Smith just to walk through. Holland Handley too far back, despite having a very strong final round and a hot back nine. The 4 down is a great score, isn't able to keep up. And it's such an exciting story as well. And I think this is one of the unique things about disc golf is when you think about amateurs or unqualified, I'm thinking of, I don't remember his name. The American at Wimbledon who is
Eubanks.
Eubanks just lost.
Did he lose? No,
he lost. I was watching the scores. He lost in the fifth set.
Oh, what a run.
It was a great run. But Eubanks, right? A qualifier makes their way up. What's exciting about those stories, obviously is that they're the underdog, but oftentimes they're on as equal turf as anybody else. They're all playing the same fields. They're playing grass, whatever, or playing same courts. Allie Smith and other pros who are local to areas are going to have the opportunity to compete week in and week out all the time on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, because there is some familiarity with courses that gives them an advantage. And I love that. I love that you can have pros like Allie Smith and people who have that kind of home field advantage, because I think oftentimes it's something that is lacking in individual sports, unless you happen to be from wherever that, and it's the same thing here, but I think that the both the crowd as well as the familiarity with the course means that locals are always going to be someone who have the opportunity to outplay their rating, outplay really where they should be, and create that kind of excitement and drama, and then make a name for themselves and create opportunities for them on the Pro Tour. So a fun weekend to watch Allie Smith take down the win.
Yeah, so super awesome to see what it meant to her and play in front of the hometown crowd, the whole deal. I feel like really quick, this is a good chance to talk Pursewatch. How about this? 54,120. That is very nice. That is second only to the Cascade Challenge, which came in at 55,199. More than double last year's Kansas City Wide Open payout when it was an A tier. And from all what I could hear, this was a very well-run event. More spectators than DDO. And obviously the field was not at the level of some of the other silvers, let alone an Elite Series, because so many players had gone over to Europe. And we actually got a couple emails from people who were like, they can't do this scheduling wise. They do this every year, folks. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it is what it is. But I think the Kansas City Wide Open is making a very good case for itself to become a staple on tour, because that's probably the best course we've seen in this Midwest stretch. I mean, is that crazy to say? Like, I am so sick of watching these Midwest courses. I'm excited to get to Europe where we get to watch really cool, beautiful forested courses again. But that was fun. They did some nice work to make that a lot more challenging for the pros than I expected it to be. And
there's some work that needs to be done.
Yes, no doubt.
There are some changes that need to be made, but not only has it been one of the best courses in the Midwest thus far, it also just screams potential. You see that, and you see what they've done for their first year on the tour, and it just, to me, when I watch that, there's no question in my mind that it can be even better and continue to improve. And I hope that this comes back as an Elite Series event. This has been, I think, the best Midwest tournament thus far this year. It's close to the metropolitan area. It had some variety in the course. It combined that park as well as the woods. It was incredible to watch. It was a lot of fun. And I hope that it gets to make a return on the Elite Series in future years and maybe get a little bit better priority in the scheduling so that it doesn't get overlapped by Europe quite so hard. Because I would love to see a fuller FPO field especially, but also, maybe a little bit more MPO players as well to shred this course.
Pretty interesting stuff. Over on the MPO side of the KC Wide Open, Gannon Buhr closes it out. It gets a win over Joseph Anderson and Jake Hebenheimer. Beats out Anderson by 2 strokes, and it was a bit of a battle. A late bogey for Anderson kind of put him in a bad spot. He gave up 3 strokes over the course of 3 holes, and that was kind of it. He gets one back, but it was too late at that point. Buhr, not perfect, had some bogeys, but continuing to look like one of the top 3 guys on tour right now. It's a big bummer he's not going to be in Europe, but it really makes me wonder what the sponsorship money situation is at the moment with Prodigy, considering that he's not coming. But I definitely get it. It's an expensive trip, probably at least $2,000-$3,000 in travel expenses, if not more, to come play the European swing. So anyway, a nice close to the U.S. stretch for Gannon Buhr.
Another relatively unheard of player, getting the win at the silver event. It was funny the entire time you were talking about Allie Smith and how glad you were that she won. I just was thinking in the back of my head, and Gannon Buhr won on the MPO side. Complete opposite of what we were talking about.
It's true.
We probably should do a hole 18 review though.
Let's do it. What'd you think, Josh?
I'm gonna actually start on the FPO side, and I think this had the potential. I'm going to give it a 7, which ties it with my other top FPO holes of the year thus far. I've not given anything higher than a 7 yet on FPO hole 18s. I think this one could have been, but it suffers a little bit from the field strength. And it's hard for me to evaluate given the limited field, because you pull up the course stats and you have, for round 3, you have the 3 birdies, which Allie Smith turned out to be, a critical birdie in her push, a handful of pars, and then I would say, I can give you the percentages. You had 50% who were bogey or worse, as well as 6 that were double bogey or worse, including Lisa Fakis, who took the triple that pulls her out of contention. I think with a better field, the par and birdie percentage slides up. And because you have some more of those distance throwers, ones who have the opportunity to really challenge and push, going for the birdie opportunities, I think that I would like to see, if possible, the landing zones tweaked to just a little bit, because I worry that the second stretch of that hole around the corner is that there isn't really the opportunity for FPO to really go for it. So I'd like to see it tweaked a little bit. But all in all, I think it really does create an exciting opportunity for the FPO field that creates a range of scores and is a pretty fair hole in my opinion. So I give it a 7, and I really, really did like it.
I went 7-7. I don't really have a whole ton to add. It's like a hole that was designed to be a hole 18. Like you would like make it a video game creation thing. You're like like disc golf tycoon. Okay, I'm going to make this hole and I'm going to draw the OB with my pencil along here like this. Well, we'll put a landing zone here. We'll put a landing zone here. A little peninsula on the green. It works. It's not necessarily like aesthetically that good. It's kind of USDGC-ish. I like the general concept of like the play up the tree line and then along the tree line, and you want to keep it tight but not too tight, and if you go too far left you go out of bounds. Like all of those concepts make sense, but it's like a little too central planner for me. It doesn't allow a lot of room for creativity. It's just like, okay, do you want to boom it and go for the green and get an eagle, or do you want to just lay up to the landing zone? Like it's a little too hand drawn, if that makes sense.
It does. Here's the reason I also give it a 7.
It's still a good hole. I give it a 7. I mean, it's a good hole.
Right. You explained why you dropped it down to a 7. I'll explain, I think, what really bumps it up to a 7. I don't know how many hole 18s give you 2 very tricky Anheuser shots that require that level of precision. Because it's not just a clean flex, right? It is, that tree line comes in off the tee, so it requires you to start it on Annie. Gannon Burr, too much turn, puts it in the tree line. Not enough turn, you're fading out early. So it is a big Annie shot that requires a level of precision that I think is unique, especially because they have to do it back to back with limited landing zones if you want to get the eagle. I love that that's the skill that's challenged, because I feel like it's one that is under challenged on hole 18s. So
it's under challenged all the time, but it's especially under challenged on hole 18s. I agree with you.
So I give it a 7.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're talking PCS Open as we get ready for the Norwegian moment on tour. This is such a beautiful course. Can't wait. We'll be right back.
Pound's the best of the best. It's the quality, the craftsmanship, the vision for what a bag could be. Let's start from the beginning. I didn't choose Pound, I chose Levi. I trusted Levi to make the best bag possible.
He's always trying to innovate. He wants it to be perfect. And I think he's the kind of guy that nothing's ever perfect.
I trust the product. I trust the people behind the product.
At this point, I don't think anyone's disputing that it's the best made bag.
Welcome back to the Upshot. The PCS Open starts tomorrow, Thursday, and it's about 12 hours from starting right now here in Europe. So we're going to be rocking and rolling. Hopefully you get up for some of the coverage for FPO. I know most people will not do that in the U.S. It'll be like 3 a.m, but kudos to you if you do it. We're going to be at the Overas Disc Golf Park in Norway. This hosted some of the rounds last year. This year it'll be all of the rounds. It moves from a 4-round tournament to a 3-round tournament. Spectacular. This is the one, as Josh mentioned, with the tractor. It's got hole 6, the Gates of Valhalla, where you throw from this elevated platform looking out. Got the giant swords. It has the huge basket by hole 1 that like psychologically wants to trap your disc. You have to make sure you don't throw it into it. So this is a lot of fun. It's beautiful. It was a top 5 course in UDisc rankings last year and in the world. And so the scenery here is incredible. And I think that's going to be the thing that really makes this one stand out, especially coming off of a lot of prairie golf that we've been watching.
It's one that has so much personality. I mean, you highlight that with the both like kind of the items, but it is just a quintessential European disc golf, right? It is gorgeous. It's got the trees. It's green. When I watch this course, it feels like we are just not even watching the same sport. And I love that. And I'm so excited that we're going to have such a deep field relative to where we did, at least on the FPO side last year. And we've got some of the best players in the world who are going to be playing this weekend. It's going to be great to watch.
Yeah, this is an Elite Series event on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. It moves up from silver to Elite. And there's a lot more players going over to Europe for this part of the swing this year, which is awesome to see. The competitive field in MPO basically triples. The FPO field literally doubles. And, we've got the top players. Now, we need to make a note right now. This just came through. Paige Pierce has dropped from this event. We do not have any further details at this time. Paige is not posted on social media, but she's over in Europe, so probably some sort of injury situation. Waiting to hear a bit more, and hopefully we'll have more on the broadcast tomorrow morning. But disappointing to see that, and hopefully Paige is all right.
I mean, that really could change things, because we've talked about, especially at the European Open, distance is the name of the game. And even if Paige is a little bit off and is not playing like, old Paige, I still was not going to count her out at European Open by any means because of that distance factor. So definitely going to be a story that we'll be keeping our eye on. But this weekend, I think, is a little bit less about distance on both sides of the golf. The course on the MPO side comes in at 8,764 feet, par 62.
Super short these days.
Yeah, it is not a long course by any means. Over on the FPO side, 8,230 feet, par 65. Definitely, longer for the FPO division, but still not one of the longest you're going to see, unlike the European Open. So it's going to be one that I think is lots of people are going to be able to compete. And that was highlighted with Greg Barsby winning it last year. You're going to have a lot of players up who can be in the mix this weekend.
It's definitely on the technical side of the technical to power spectrum. There are shots that are demanding for needing powerful, especially sidearm. But there's a lot of technicality. There's a lot of holes where you have to shape a shot a very particular way. There's tunnel shots. There's wooded holes. But there are also holes with airspace. It feels a little bit more mixed than just straight pure woods. But it's an interesting course because on the MPO side, it opens up with 6 par 3s. And then I think it's 6 of the last 7 holes are par 4s. So it's like all of these kind of like very gettable one-shot holes early in the tournament, in the round. And then you start to get to the 2-shot holes mostly at the end. So it's not like typically you see that a little bit more well distributed. Here it's kind of, there's a front 9, there's a back 9, and they feel quite different. So that's something to keep an eye on. Big storylines, of course, Macbeth re-entering the competitive field again with all the American players. Eagle, Calvin, Paul, and then the European contingent. We've seen great play from Jakub Semerad and Nicholas Antela. On the FPO side, this is the first time since Kristen Tatar really made the leap to being the dominant player that she's been over the last 2 years, that she's going to be playing elite disc golf in Europe. Because remember, last year, she missed the European Open. She missed PCS because she was dealing with the elbow injury. And now, for the first time, we're going to see her playing against, not a full field necessarily, but certainly a competitive FPO field.
In Kristen's favor, though, it's noteworthy that she just, her rating went up by another 2 points, 994, and is now 2 points shy of Paige's all-time high of 996. So we're not to 1,000 yet, but the train keeps moving on steadily and surely. So Kristen is definitely still playing elite disc golf, and I think is going to have the advantage of traveling just across Europe rather than from the United States when it comes to playing in this tournament.
And that is going to be something to watch. Josh, you think the players who have been over here already have an advantage for, time zone reasons, jet lag, whatever?
Charlie, if I let you sit there for 5 minutes, would you still be awake when I came back?
I'm fine.
You're good?
I've been in Europe for
that's true. You've been in there a couple weeks. Yeah. No, that's true. But I do. I mean, I've made that trip before, and day one when you're in Europe is brutal when you make that jump. And so I think there is going to be an advantage, and there is going to reach a point where, they've been there a couple of days and have gotten a round or two in. But at the end of the day, and adrenaline is going to play a part in that as well. But there could be mistakes that come from just mental fatigue, right? Their body is not fully acclimated, and they've got jet lag still, and they pull a putt and they miss a little low, or they have a round where they miss low because it just doesn't feel like everything's quite clicking because they're just tired. And I think that's a real possibility. And my picks reflect that.
How much do you think pros are looking at this tournament as kind of like a tune-up for Worlds versus looking at this as an event that they want to just win outright? Because it is an elite series.
Tune-up for European Open, I think is what you meant to
Whatever
say.
I said about Worlds is nonsensical. I am trying to project into the universe my desire for the World Championships to be not in the United States, but I did mean the European Open.
Yeah, okay, all right. I think it depends on how much a player looks at their chances of winning the European Open. If you are the likes of Eagle McMahon, I think that you are going to be looking at this tournament as an opportunity to warm up for the European Open. I think all your top players are going to look at it the same way. If you are Craig Barsby, your goal is probably to win this event, right? You're here to win this one. I also think that if you're a European player, you are looking this as an opportunity to win, right? Because even if it's an elite series event, a lot of these guys have been playing European Pro Tour events for a couple of weeks or a month now and have been playing in Europe. So this probably doesn't feel substantially different to them than those other events that they've played. And so I think that if you're a European player, you see this as an event that you want to win. If you don't really feel like you've got a shot at the European Open, you want to see this as an opportunity to win. For players like Eagle, Paul, Ricky, Kristen, Katrina, they see this event as an opportunity to get ready for the second major of the season.
There are a few hole changes to keep an eye on. Point you over to the preview on Ulti-World Disc Golf if you want to break it all down. There are some new holes. There are some tweaks and things, but by and large, this is the course that you will remember from last year, and the scenery isn't going anywhere, folks. So get ready to just enjoy watching. We just get to sit and watch, and it's nice. So it will be myself and Zoe Andike on the call for FPO, me and Brian Earhart on the call for MPO. Although Brian Earhart is having terrible travel problems and maybe isn't going to be here for round one. So TBD, Godspeed, Brian. I think he's stuck in Newfoundland right now. I'm not sure what the latest is, but he will get here eventually. And Josh, it's time to make our picks. Let's make it snappy as we get ready to roll. And then, of course, next week we'll have our big European Open preview show as we get ready for the next major of the season. Josh, who you got?
Over on the FPO side, I've got Henna Blomroos in the 3 spot. I think we haven't talked about Henna and Evelina because they've been off in Europe. They haven't been over playing. They've taken some time off. I really think, though, that that's exactly what the doctor ordered. And I know we talked about it in the off season and we had the hype and it wasn't quite, it definitely did not pan out and go their way at the beginning of the season. But we're in Europe. We've seen them play well. And you've got to remember, I mean, they have accolades to their name from playing and winning elite European events in the past. I think the time off is going to have done them good. And so I've got Henna Blomroos in my 3 spot. My 2 spot, I've got Sarah Hokum. I think that her forehand is actually going to be a real strategic advantage here and is going to give her an opportunity to really change the way that these holes are played, because the European courses, and this is the case not just with all European courses, but I think is often typical of courses that are heavily wooded and in existing disc golf parks, is it's more difficult to make adaptations to the FPO course when from the NPO just standard layout, because there's limited space and capacity to do so. In those cases, I think someone like Sarah Hokum, who gets to approach it a little bit differently than the rest of the FPO field, is going to find an opportunity for her to make up additional strokes. And her consistency is going to be a key role on the holes that just aren't birdieable for FPO side. Sarah, I think, has the opportunity to minimize those mistakes, keeping her up at the top of the leaderboard. The number 1 spot, though, Kristen Tatar. Hasn't given me a reason yet not to pick her, and I'm going to keep picking that. So Kristen Tatar goes up at the top of my leaderboard once again.
I love the picks. I'm worried about rust for Henna and Evelina, honestly, Josh. They haven't played since Jonesboro. That was in April.
It's true.
That's a long time ago.
It is.
Now, I have no idea how much disc golf they've been playing, but that's, almost 3 months ago, which is hard to believe. But yeah, I mean, Henna in particular, I'm just like waiting for the monster breakout performance. I think it's more likely to see those players step up and play well at the Beast than here in the Norway, but we'll see. I'm going to go with Anniken Sten in my 3 spot. She won this tournament last year. Yes, it was a limited field. Yes, it's nothing like the kinds of quality players that we have in this year's tournament. That said, great player, comfortable, one of the best European women right now. And I think, is going to excel at this course as she did a year ago. I'm going to stick with a hot hand with Katrina Allen coming off the win. I think she figured out some of the things. We see Katrina Allen go through this where something gets a little bit out of rhythm. The drive was off. It clicked back into place. The putting's been fire. We've never seen better putting from Katrina Allen than we've seen this season. I think she's going to keep it rolling in Europe. I got her in the 2 spot, but I cannot pick against Kristen Tatar. I'm sorry. Can't do it. Not this time. Not in Europe. Not when she's back in the European spotlight. This is her moment to, pick up what she started last year and had to miss in the European stretch. I think she's going to go WW in these next 2 weeks as I give away my pick for next week. But I reserve the right to change it if I want to.
Barring injury, I don't think either of us will be changing that pick.
I don't know. Is Paige going to play? I mean, we'll see. On the MPO side, I'm going to take Nicholas Antila in the 3 spot. He has been awesome playing over in Europe. He's looked better than anybody that we've seen playing on the European side of the continent over these last 6 weeks. I think that there's a really good chance that we're starting to see him emerge as the player that we know that he can be. And I think it would be a real statement for him to win this weekend. I'm not picking that, but I'm not counting it out either. All right, in my top 2 spots, I got a couple of spicier picks up here at the top. First, at number 2, I'm going to go with James Proctor. Okay, James just gets a hot round last weekend. He's
record.
3rd place at Skellefteå Open.
Yeah.
He's been up and down this season, but a lot more up than down. Mm-hmm. And he's having the best season of his entire disc golf career right now. Love his game at this course. I think this very Pacific Northwesty vibes in Norway. And I think the shot shaping matches his game very well. In my 1 spot, though, and this is I'm going to be honest. This is a very risky pick. I'm picking somebody who's coming off of an injury, Bradley Williams, who's been over in Europe, fully acclimated to everything. I just feel like his game is perfect to win at Overis Disc Golf Park. Like he's not going to win on the courses that require the absolute max distance type shots. But when you're talking about somebody who has the control, the pure shot making, there may be nobody better in disc golf. He's fantastic, and I think he's got an awesome opportunity this weekend.
Spicy picks. And I'll just do a little insert here. Spicy picks, especially coming from the guy who's behind now, because I've picked 3 winners in a row on the MPO side.
God. I'm not even going to, I can't throw any shade. I can say nothing to that.
So just an interesting pick. If
you pick chalk, but you get it right, there's no argument.
That's right. All right. On my MPO side, I've got Jakub Semerod in 3rd place. Jakub lost to Barsby last year here, but has had a really strong season, playing up, with Paul McBeth in the mix. And so I really like Jakub for this event here. And I think he's got a very good possibility. I mean, look, Nicholas is the best European right now, but that doesn't mean there aren't other Europeans who could come up and really kind of surprise us. And I think Jakub is one who could. In my 2 spot, I've got Paul McBeth. I think the advantage of having played these courses, playing in Europe, mistakes aside, everything that we've talked about, is just going to be advantage that's going to propel McBeth up to the podium spot. And if not the 2, I'm very confident that I think Paul McBeth can stay in the mix, even with a stronger field going into this weekend, thanks to the time that he's been spent playing on these courses. The Beast gets more distance, right? That I think the Beast is unique. And while it does have the flavors of European disc golf, in a hole 16 with the hay bales, for example, or is one that requires a kind of distance and shot making that feels a little bit different, more American really, as opposed to some of the front 9 that's a lot more wooded and feels European. I think though at this course this is going to feel just like what he was playing last weekend, and that's going to be a big plus for him. But in my 1 spot, I'm also going to pick a guy coming off of some injury recovery, Eagle McMahon. I'm calling for the Paul Eagle showdown a week early this year before we get to the Beast. I think Eagle is going to show us again that why he loves Europe. People in Europe love Eagle. He plays well in Europe. And I think this is going to be a kickoff, and you're going to see a firing hot Eagle come out of the gate here, winning the PCS Sula and being a strong competitor for the Beast next weekend.
I got to be honest. If Eagle tears it up the next 2 weeks, we're going to have a conversation about what is happening in Europe that makes Eagle so good.
Right.
Does he absorb the energy from the fans like a DJ or like a musician on stage? It's just, we've seen the kids fawning all over him at European Open last year. It's going to be even crazier this year.
His 2 majors come from Europe.
2 majors in Europe. Played and has not just won them but played awesome.
Right.
So hey, I don't knock it up. 2 very different sets of picks. I like both sets though. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, they'll be fun.
Okay, that is going to do it for this week's show. Sorry again for not being fully available for our double shows. Next week we will get 2 shows in. So I promise that. And more sub bonus stuff coming your way. Make sure that you get yourself a subscription at discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe. Tune into our live rapid reacts after every round of the European Open next week. We've also got a show coming for you today, Dark Horse Europeans. Don't miss it. Thanks for joining us. Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood. Talk to you next time.